Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something we really don't talk about enough, Python comments. They look simple, right? But trust me, they are the absolute secret to writing code that you, and just as importantly, other people can actually understand.
All right, so have a look at this. A computer will chew through this line of code in an instant. It knows it's making a list of squared, even numbers. But for us humans, you've got to stare at it for a second to really get what's going on, right? And that's the thing, isn't it? We write code for computers, but humans are the ones who have to read and understand it.
So how do we close that gap between what the computer gets and what a person gets? Well, the answer is actually super simple. Comments. They're like little notes you leave for yourself and for other people, and they turn what looks like a bunch of symbols into a story that actually makes sense.
I want you to think of comments as a tour guide for your code. Seriously, a good guide doesn't just point and say, that's a building. They tell you why that building is there, what its story is, and that's exactly what a good comment does for your code.
Okay, so what is a comment technically? In Python, it's any bit of text that starts with that pound sign, the hashtag symbol. And here's the most important part to remember. The second the Python interpreter sees that symbol, it just ignores everything else on that line. It's basically a message that's only for us, for the humans looking at the code.
So you can stick a comment on its own line, or you can pop it right at the end of a line of code. So right here, after our classic print hello world, we can just add a quick note. This is what we call an inline comment, and it's perfect for those little quick explanations.
So when Python comes along to run the script, it's like that comment isn't even there. It's totally invisible to the machine. All Python sees is the command to print. The code does its job, the comment explains why it's doing its job, and they stay out of each other's way. Perfect.
So why even bother leaving these notes? Well, there are three huge reasons. First, obviously, to explain the tricky bits of your code. Second, to make the whole thing easier to read for anyone else who might have to look at it. And last but not least, and honestly, this might be the biggest one, it's a note to your future self, so you can remember what in the world you were thinking 6 months from now when you come back to.
Okay, but comments aren't just for explaining things. They have another superpower. They can act like an on-off switch for your code, and this is a total game changer when you're testing or trying to fix something.
The idea here is really simple. Since Python just ignores anything after that pound sign, right? Well, you can just stick that sign at the very beginning of a line of code. You're not deleting it, you're just telling Python, hey, just skip this line for now.
Okay, let's break this down. On the left, you see we've got two print statements. Simple enough? Now in the middle, see what we did? We switched off that first line just by putting a hash symbol in front. And now, look at the result on the right. Python runs the second line just fine, but it completely skips over the first one. This is so useful for finding bugs or trying out changes without having to delete any of your code. Okay, so we've got single-line comments down. But what if you have more to say? What if your explanation is a bit longer and doesn't fit on one line? Well, that's where multi-line comments come in.
So here's a funny little thing about Python. Unlike some other languages, it doesn't actually have a special official syntax for multi-line comments. But don't worry, the Python community has come up with a couple of really common, smart ways to get it done anyway.
So here they are side by side. On the left, you've got the most straightforward way. Just start every single line with a pound sign. It's super clear, everyone gets it. Now on the right is a pretty clever trick. You use triple quotes, like you're starting a multi-line string. Now technically this is a string, not a comment, but since you don't assign it to a variable or do anything with it, Python just kind of throws it away when it runs the code. So it acts exactly like a big comment block. Pretty smart, right?
All right, so as we start to pull all this together, it's pretty clear that comments aren't just some optional little extra. They're really the second story of your code. They're the human part that explains the why behind all the commands. So let's do a super quick recap of the main points. First, comments start with a hashtag, and Python completely ignores them. They're for us. Second, use them to explain your code to others and to your future self. Third, they're an amazing tool for temporarily disabling code when you're testing. And finally, if you need to write a longer note, you can either put a hashtag on each line or use that cool triple quote trick.
I want to leave you with this thought. Look, getting your code to work, that's step one. That's the baseline. But writing code that other people can actually understand, that they can build on, that you can understand when you come back to it a year later, that's what really separates a good programmer from a great one. And that's where great comments make all the difference.
So one last time, just to lock it in, what's that one magic character you need to make a Python comment? Yup, you got it, the pound sign. Use it and use it well. Thanks for tuning in, and happy coding.